cybersecurity. You may think that cybersecurity would only affect big companies and major institutions, but today I'm going to go through some of the examples of how cybersecurity can have an impact on regular people via their devices on the internet and the Internet of Things. My first example is about car theft. I don't know if you've heard about the way that criminals have started to rob cars recently in the United Kingdom. They've got rid of the good old crowbar and they're now using much more sophisticated technology. So I wanted to show you a video, but unfortunately the screen is not working. I can't get it into the computer to show you. But what happens is that two guys turn up, it's always in pairs, outside of a house, and they have two pieces of equipment, an amplifier and a transmitter. So the guy that's holding the amplifier goes up very close to the house where there is going to be a keyless fob inside, because this only ever works for keyless cars. So the keyless fob will be in a kitchen drawer somewhere on some of his keys. So that guy goes to stand as close as possible to the house to amplify the signal coming from the keyless fob. That amplified signal is then sent to the transmitter, and the person holding the transmitter will be next to the car. So when they get the signal, if they can get the signal, it'll be sent through to the transmitter and it will open the door, allowing them into the car as if they were the owner of the car. And this can all be done in under 60 seconds. And these criminals, they very much enjoy this method. It costs them just a couple of £100 to buy these amplifiers and transmitters on the internet. There's less of a risk because there's less noise and it takes less time. So they much prefer it to the Hollywood method of smashing through the windows and hot wiring the car. And what's really ironic, actually, about this increase in car theft in the UK is that police had previously managed to reduce car theft since the 1990s. But in my hometown of Manchester, for example, the rates have doubled in recent years because of this new easy way of stealing cars. So really what's ironic about this is that this new technology of a keyless fob, which is meant to make our lives easier, is actually causing people a car, costing people a car. And really, I didn't think that turning a key in a lock was too complicated in the first place. So my second example will again be about cars. And as you all know, there are other pieces of technology on our cars these days. It's not just the keyless technology, because the car manufacturers are moving more and more towards autonomous driving vehicles. According to the car manufacturers, their newest cars, their newest ranges could, in fact, drive themselves, but it's the legislation that's holding them back. But more and more of these new technologies are remote technologies. You can access them remotely. You can turn on your lights remotely, you can turn on your radio remotely, etc. But that also means that you can hack them remotely. In 2015, a friend calls up a friend of his, a journalist, and says, "Would you mind being my guinea pig and getting in a car and I'm going to hack it?" So the journalist gets in. He knows that on a section of the A66 in California, his friend's going to hack into the car and do something. He doesn't know exactly what's going to be done. You can look at this example on the internet if you like later on. And so the first thing that his friends do, they start in a quite friendly manner. They just turn up and down his radio to see if he's realising, just changing the volume just a little bit, turn up and down his air conditioning. And he began to realise that that was them. And then the second thing they do is they turn on the dashboard and they connect via video link, and they start waving to him dressed up and making him laugh whilst he's driving, so quite distracting, quite dangerous. And then the last thing they do is that they could remotely slow the car down and bring it to a stop. The journalist, who knew this was going to happen, was actually really scared at this point, because he could see behind him, a couple of 100 meters down the road, a huge lorry arriving, and they chose to stop the car just around the corner. So he was scared that the lorry was going to crash into him. So imagine if this was a real life event, just how afraid he would have been. In case you're interested, the brand of the car in question was a Jeep, and they say that they have rectified this issue as it was back in 2015. But imagine what other security issues are out there in other cars and what could happen in our cars when we're on the road. I was quite optimistic in the past about autonomous vehicles, thinking that I would be, sat there reading my book on my way to work, but now I'm not so sure. A third example that I wanted to share with you is about ransomware. I'm sure you've all heard of ransomware, software, hardware, and malware, but have you ever heard of ransomware? Ransomware is when someone sends you a dodgy email or link, you open it, and then this encrypts your files, and the person connects to you and demands a ransom for you to have your files released and accessible to you once again. So you imagining, I'm sure, that this only ever happens to big businesses and institutions again. No. It often actually happens to students, and what they do is they access them often via the Wi-Fi. So if you've got your devices connected to the Wi-Fi here, please carry on listening to me until the end of my speech. You can take them off the university Wi-Fi at the end. And often what they do is they target the month of May, because they know that in April, May, students will have important essays and papers to hand in. They might have been working on these papers for months, for years, so they'll be much more willing to pay a ransom to have access to these files and be able to get them in before the deadline. So you can really see that this could happen to average Joes like you and me. My next example is about Amazon's newish piece of technology called the Amazon Echo. Don't know if you know what this device is, but it's a virtual assistant similar to Apple's Siri. The Amazon version is called Alexa. And so what you do is you use what they call a wake up word, which is either Amazon or Alexa, and that then the device comes online and begins to listen to you. But my question to Amazon is, are they always listening? Amazon has said that it is always on. So when we asked, what does that really mean, always on? They said, well, it's always listening for a specific command. Again, I find that this lacks clarity. It's always listening for a specific command, so is it always listening to you, or is it always ready to listen? And what Amazon said, and I quote, is that when you use the wake word, the audio stream includes a few seconds before the wake word. So what I'm thinking is, how is this even possible? How can they be recording a few seconds before the thing has come online? These types of responses from the gaffer companies is what really drives me mad and really means that I have a lack of trust in these companies. And the Amazon Echo, it is also allowed to record your music interests. Amazon say that this is because they would like to speed up your future searches for your songs, your favourite songs. And it's not at all because they want to sell this information, this data to Spotify, of course not. Jeff Bezos is currently the richest man in the world. He's got to make his money somehow, right? Amazon recently overtaken Apple as the richest company in the world. Don't know how he does it, but I digress. Anyway, the Amazon Echo has not been that controversial so far. We've not seen so many examples of misuses or data breaches. But there are a couple, so I'll share them with you. I don't know if you've heard about the first example, the most well-known, is of Alexa laughing. So Alexa was interpreting some background noise as Alexa, the command Alexa, laugh. And so some people were in the middle of the night asleep, and some background noise, the window creaking, the door opening, somebody walking around, was interpreted as Alexa laugh. So in the middle of the night in their house, Alexa did this very scary laugh, waking up the family, the children, causing quite a lot of alarm. Amazon has now made a change to the laugh. Instead of a witch-like cackle, it's more of a friendly cackle. Another example of a controversy with the Echo is that a couple in the US that had the device in their living room, they were walking around having a chat, they hadn't turned it on, they hadn't sent any commands, but the device had interpreted what they were saying as Alexa, Alexa record, Alexa send to James. And so Alexa sent the recording of their conversation to a friend in their phone book called James. And they could have been doing anything, talking about anything in their house at the time. Apparently it wasn't so bad, but still. This is the types of risks that you have with these devices that we allow into our private spheres, like our homes. Might not seem so serious, but for me, you've got to trust in these devices when you allow them into your privacy, into your intimacy. And if you lose that trust, if Amazon ever loses that trust, I won't be doing a U-turn. I don't think most consumers would either. My opinion on all of this technology is that we're getting too much too soon. I'm not quite ready. I don't know about you. You can tell I'm not an expert because I've not used so many technical words in my speech today. And I really believe that it's safer, really, to wait until you're ready for smart televisions, smart homes, Alexa and all of this type of stuff, keyless cars. You have to know about all of the risks, you have to know how to use them, how to protect yourself. For example, let's think of an old person. If an older person moves into a house and they have these entirely connected homes now, would they know how to close their curtains with these commands, how to plan things in their agenda? It would be completely useless to them, and it would probably actually make them feel less secure than just a regular house would. It's this lack of knowledge, a lack of cybersecurity, that can lead to risks and threats. I hope that I've convinced you in my speech today that it's not just big businesses, institutions, and famous people that are targeted, but it's the cars, the universities, and the homes of regular people like you and me that are under a threat from cyber attacks. So if you're anything like me, if you're a bit of a tech dinosaur, then you should remember that sometimes the safest, the healthiest, and the best button to use is this little off button right here. Thank you.